What's the most uncomfortable question you can ask someone? Hey. Can we have a talk about your search history? Why don't you have any children? I was a chronic miscarrier. My son is a super duper miracle. Where's my hug? Do you have a sister by chance? How come I wasn't invited? Have you seen our toothbrush? Edit. Why are you so quiet? Once. Back in college. When meeting my then girlfriend's parents for the first time. Her dad greets me with a handshake. Nothing odd about it at all. Then. In mid-shake he says. So you're the guy f***ing my daughter. I was genuinely rendered speechless. Edit to add. He didn't mean it in a threatening way or as an alpha move. And that was perfectly clear in the moment. My girlfriend had warned me that he was a bit of a kidder. And I was also aware of the fact that they were very open when it came to discussing sex. I knew before I met him that her dad knew we were sleeping with each other. And that it wasn't something that had to be kept secret. I just didn't expect to be greeted with it during introductions. I'm a firm believer in equal partnership. So to be fair, sir, your daughter and I are f***ing each other. Doctor. In front of parents. Are you sexually active? What kind of debt are you in? I'm not sure if it counts. But if someone asks you, hey, can you move over a seat so I can be next to my friend? Especially if you thought the person asking you was your friend. Why does no one love me? Well, have you tried paying them? Why does everyone hate you so much? Weren't you pregnant? Edit. I seem to have struck a chord here. If I could give y'all a hug, I would. Are we still friends? I once had a stranger tell me I saw that. And I was like, saw what? You were checking out that girl. I honestly had no clue what he was talking about because I seriously wasn't checking out anyone, but he kept insisting that I was and that I should stop denying it. The dude was like 40. What the FCK was his problem? F***ing embarrassing, man. I always thought asking a soldier how many kills they have is the absolute worst thing you can ask. What color underwear are you wearing right now? At a job interview, do I have to do a drug test? You do now. Why is that clown following you? He's my boyfriend. Did you bathe properly today? This is a conversation I had to have with a co-worker once. His smell was very distracting for everyone in the office. Guy's wife had died and he just sort of stopped taking care of himself afterward. A couple of us got him set up with a therapist. He left the company shortly after for a less stressful job. But I saw on FB a while later the guy is doing much better. If you come in the back office with me right now, just you and me, are you gonna be cool about it? Or be a snitch? Asked by my old boss at a grocery store. He just was offering me shots of Fireball because it was almost closing time on New Year's Eve. Are you uncomfortable? If they say no, then you should reply with, do you want me to make you uncomfortable? On a scale of 1-10, how pretty do you think you are? It's bad because if you give yourself a high score, they'll assume that you're egotistical. Everyone always answers this with 7. Can you tell me something about yourself? Hey, we need to talk. This is the worst. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is why I hate interviews. What do you think of me? Is it cool if I shoot some smack real quick? I saw an old high school acquaintance at a club once. She had always been super skinny in HS, but this night she had a very pronounced belly. I assumed since she had always been skinny and only had grown in her belly that she was pregnant. She was not. Editing this after my BF insisted that I tell the whole story. I can't remember exactly how I asked her, but she replied in a half laugh that she wasn't pregnant. Me, thinking she was joking, replied, oh, just a big lunch then, while patting her stomach. Then I laughed and walked away. My cousin later told me what I had done and informed me that she had a 1-year-old and hadn't lost her baby weight. I will never do that again. As a male, I operate under a policy that the only time that you can ask a woman if she's pregnant is if she is in active labor and the baby is crowning. And even then you must exclaim surprise that you had no idea. Male ER nurse here. I'm always asking embarrassing questions to the female patients, especially if they're young. Are you currently sexually active? Do you have any STDs? Was asked by the charge nurse to discharge a 16-year-old female patient for vaginal discharge and to tell her how to clean medicate herself. I told her no. Do you really want a guide to tell a young girl how to clean herself and to not have sex for 3 months with them meds? She agreed and did it herself. Do you think your friends ever regret meeting you? Tell me about yourself. Windows has decided to shut down. Is it in yet? I was starting an IV on a patient. She said something like, I was going to ask you if it was in yet. I didn't even feel it. I wanted to say something like normally this is the worst thing for a man to hear so bad. But yeah, no. Professionalism. A non-pregnant woman, how far along she is. When are you going to get married, have kids? Some dude to me on Discord. How big are her boobs? Dot. I'm a guy. To the gay couple. Which one of you is the girl boy? Actually we're both the boy. It makes being in a lesbian relationship rather confusing. Depends on the person. For a lot of women. It's so when are you guys going to have a baby? I literally had to tell my mill that we're trying and that we haven't used protection for some time now. Embarrassed her enough to back off the topic forever. She's very old school. Where do you get that watch? I was telling someone about some good news I had recently gotten and they said congratulations. But someone overheard only the last bit and immediately jumped to wait. Are you pregnant? In front of a bunch of other people. Never ask someone if they're pregnant. Wait until they tell you. Otherwise you could make things super awkward if they're pregnant but they're not ready to tell anyone. They're trying but haven't been successful yet. Etc. No. Where are you actually from? To guests at a funeral. Do any of you watch pornography? Jim did. And now he's dead. Really makes you think. Went on a camping trip with a friend of mine and her friend who I just met that day. We had a few hour car ride. I was sitting in the back seat. And I just happened to be a chill quiet person who keeps to myself. She proceeded to ask me, why are you so quiet? Were you abused as a child? Were your parents overbearing and outspoken so you stay quiet? Why do you have cut marks on your arm? Cat got me. Can we become best friends? After meeting for 3 days. Why do people do that? Have you ever considered plastic surgery? This one popped up out of nowhere during a lunch with a group of friends. Dude just asks me out of the blue. You don't like me? Do you? No prompting. No conversation leading up to it. The only thing I can even think of is that in the days leading up to it. I told him I didn't want to go LARPing and told him no when he invited himself over to spend the night at my wife's and my apartment so he would be that much closer to the LARPing location. For reference. He lived maybe 15 minutes away from us and LARPing was maybe 45 minutes to an hour from there. We had only met him a few times total at this point as a friend of our friends. To answer the question. I mean, yeah. You make me uncomfortable inviting yourself over and being pushy guilt tripping about things. But let's not make a scene at lunch. Bro. Why are you gay? Who says I'm gay? Just have a casual conversation about anything. Corona. Politics. Grandparents and ask immediately afterwards, anyway, how's your rest life? The room has taught me a lot about life. I see you dumped that loser husband. Good for you. Do you love me? Did you remember to turn the stove off? Same-sex relationships. Who is the man and who is the woman? Edit. Wrote how instead of who. Is your daughter sister 18? Wanna be my friend? Some random 11 years old asked me this 2 years ago. I didn't want to be mean, so I said yes. Turns out was extremely annoying. Thank God he was just a student who was part of a school trip visiting for summer camp. What are your 5 biggest hopes, dreams, fears, and regrets? 5 of each, or can I focus on fear and regrets? Why did you unfollow me on Instagram? Indian aunties have nailed this. Or beta. What is your salary? Haven't you got a little healthy lately? Translation, fat. Oh, is that as it on your face? How much did you score in board exams? When are you getting married? When are you making me a grandma? If there was an Olympic category for uncomfortable questions, Indian aunties would win it. Edit. Obligatory thank you for the award, kind stranger. Edit. So many of you guys are hinting incest at auntie, grandma transformations. In India, every female of a certain age is an auntie, and every female of a certain age to your kid will be his grandma. It ain't got no rules. So keep your Alabama in your pants. Do you have Reddit? What's your username? My kinda toxic dad asked me, am I a good dad? Over dinner at a restaurant once. I would not break down years of trauma and describe his negative personality traits to his face in a private place, much less at our local bar and grill. Do you know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? Crimea is Ukraine? Sorry. That's a Eurovision insider. What are those marks on your wrist? Oh my gosh. Long time no see. How have you been? Oh. Yeah. Hey. Nice to meet you here. Funny. Actually, I didn't think you'd spot me hiding behind that shelf, but great to meet you. Yeah. What about you? Yeah, I like jazz. That's not uncomfortable, that's a turn on. Asking an introvert, why are you so quiet? This thread made me realize how uncomfortable I make others feel. My 35 years old husband was battling brain cancer. He had lost all movement on his left side and was completely bedridden. When we had to go to DR's appointments, we would have to hire a wheelchair van with a driver. My husband also slept all the time due to the location of his tumor, but often would wake up having heard what was going on around him. The driver asked me what his prognosis was, and I just thought, what a thoughtless question. You are literally asking me how long until he dies. In front of him. I just told her we don't talk about those things. I was so mad. I used to be a cashier at guest services at this one amusement park. I had a young woman and an older man approach my register. The woman says she'd like to buy a ticket for her father. So I'll look at the guy and say, hi sir. What kind of tickets are you looking for? To which she replies, no. That's my husband. Full stop. It was so awkward and I didn't know what to say. So I looked at the guy again and said, hi sir. Ask someone you're incredibly close to notice anything different? D, and then slowly look sadder and sadder as they struggle to guess what you changed. Do you really want to hurt me? Even worse. Do you really want to make me cry? To a teenager. So are your pubes fully grown? What the actual FCK? Can I come see him? Edit. What happened to your arms? Did you fall off your bike? Did you get burned? Is that contagious? No FKs. It's called psoriasis. I'm sick of wearing long sleeve shirts in the summer. Okay. Just stop asking people about their appearance. It's not that hard to mind your own damn business. Did you try to look that bad? As a cello instructor, could you spread your legs slightly farther? Please. Whoa. You're 17? You look like 12. Like. Do you think I don't realize that? What do you want me to do about it? I get asked that so often. It's really annoying. Can you see it too? We're totally gonna have sex, right? What about me seems interesting. I never know how to respond to a question like this. After losing my son when he was 3 months old from a rare genetic condition. When are you going to have more children? Nah, so go FCK yourself right now. Lol. Actually, the Canadian in me would say, I don't know yet. Seriously. If someone loses a child, don't ask them when they're going to have more children. It's none of your business. Asking a trans person what's in their pants. Can I suck your toes? What do you call someone who wears a condom on their toes? Exclamation point. Roberto. Did you fart? For me, it's when I'm interviewing for a position and they see that I was with a former agency for 12-13 years and they asked me why I left that agency. Makes me very uncomfortable because I failed a 10-year background investigation because I smoked weed while vacationing in Jamaica on 2 separate occasions over the span of nearly 10 years. Long story short, I was forced to resign. If you could change one thing about your physical appearance, what would it be? You know. Besides the obvious. Anal? I'd rather be asked instead of him pretend it was an accident. To someone you kind of know but don't live with. Do you know you talk in your sleep sometimes? You ever find clumps in your period blood? On the off chance you're suggesting this in the hopes of finding an answer. Yes, and it's normal. Don't worry about it. In the more likely case that you're just f***ing around. Not nearly often enough. They have the best flavor. Well, apparently it's taboo to talk about how much money you make or anything about your financial situation. Unless you're really rich. So that seems to make people pretty uncomfortable. In the US at least. Honestly. I don't get this. I'm super open about my financial situation. Granted. What's that on your teeth? Some random lady was talking to me one time and she was like, oh wait, there's something in your teeth, and she tried to pick it out of my teeth and I was just like, I can touch my own teeth but thanks anyways. Can I talk to you about Jesus? What's he done now? At the family Christmas dinner. So, who was the last person at this table you had an unwelcome sex dream about? Are you mad at me? Have you found a church here yet? Every time I move, whether it's in the Midwest, South, or even Pacific Northwest, someone asks me if I've found a church yet. I'm an atheist and very aware of the social stigma, and always have to tiptoe around this question while avoiding an invitation to come to their church. Waiting for my new religious co-worker to ask and dreading it. Yeah, I burned a few down but I'm always on the lookout. How old do you think I am? Coming from someone who looks 100. Does your hair smell nice? How old do you think I am? Are you happy with who you are as a person? Whoa. You are very exotic looking. Was your dad a GI? How come you don't have kids? Conveniently. That happens a lot. The answer is either some frustrating situation where you say you don't want them and they try to convince you that you're wrong and you actually do. Or, it's because after 6 miscarriages, including one heartbreaking one at 25 weeks. What feels like 45 doctor's appointments to find out what the problem is. A failed round of IVF that cost you a nice new BMW. And endless tears. You've come to the realization that you're going to die alone and have no one to leave your legacy to. And you're barely holding on emotionally after the roller coaster of despair the last 4 years have been. Don't ask that question. When you're in a large group setting like a dinner, one person calls you out with "Why are you so quiet?" Full stop. Then the whole room focuses on you. My sister and I are adopted and someone once asked my mum, in front of US, how much did they cost? I'm not sure if this could be considered as an uncomfortable question. But yeah, it was awkward. Edit 1. Whoa. Thanks for the upvotes. Edit 2. For those asking how much. If you want a serious answer, I can't answer that question simply because I have no idea. Depends on a lot of stuff. When I told my dad I was pregnant, he asked if we were trying. Yes. Dad. He has been shooting giant loads inside me for months and it finally worked. Don't ask people if they were trying. It's super awkward and doesn't matter. At all. May I have sex with your mother? What's in your pants? Leftover tater tots. Saving them for later. Who you voting for? Dave. Come on with the voting. I'm trying to tell you about f-king my wife in the ass. And you're asking me all these personal questions. When are you due? It's not uncomfortable when the woman is pregnant. But when she isn't, well. Whenever I mention my friend who killed themselves, maybe 40% of the time people respond by how. Please don't ask. I know you're curious, but it gives me flashbacks to that day all over again and I'm not going to subject myself to a bad day for that. So how much money do you make? Hey. Does this rag smell like chloroform to you? Do you wanna go out? Do I have a chance? On a first date. Have you ever had a sexually transmitted infection or disease? Uncomfortable. But necessary. I had a girl tell me that she had a fully preventable with a condom STD before we had sex the first time. It was awkward for a minute. But I couldn't possibly have more respect for her honesty and vulnerability. We ended up dating for a bit. And thanks to her honesty, I don't have an STD. She's a wonderful person. And if the world had more people like her, it would be a safer place to live. When I told someone they looked good from the weight loss, I asked, what are you doing? Apostrophe. They told me it wasn't on purpose and I found out a few weeks later they had cancer. I do not suggest trying it out on someone.